Yeah, good morning from Idaho, the Alpine guy here. Well, the Alpine's been sitting out here for about a week, and it's closed up right now. Still got to winterize it, but we'll get to that probably next week. I'm going to make a couple of quick measurements just to see how the converter is operating. It's a WIFCO 75 amp OEM 3-stage converter, and the batteries that are in here are going on 8 years old now. They're 2 Costco GC2s, and we're going to replace these batteries next spring. We'll just take a quick look-see at the electrolyte level in these batteries, and you probably can't see real good, but the electrolyte level is fine, and I've already checked the other battery to the left, and so there's no need to add any distilled water. Currently, right now inside the Alpine, there's absolutely nothing turned on, and you can see that the output of the converter is 13.7 volts. Typically, after a while, the converter will drop down to about 13.2 volts, which is the maintain or float mode, but I rarely ever see that. Normally what I typically see, and what I've seen over the last 9 years with this Alpine, this converter, and this set of batteries that I have in here, is about 13.5 to 13.7 volts. And so that tells me that the batteries are in fact getting a decent charge from the converter. They're being maintained, but yet they're not being overcharged. With the winter coming up here and cold temperatures down below zero for quite a few days at a time, I do not remove my batteries. I leave them installed just as it is. I leave the fifth wheel plugged into a 15 amp house outlet here at the house, and that's what maintains my batteries. And I have not had any issues in the 9 years that I've owned this Alpine. We'll take another close-up look, and we're again showing 13.7 volts DC coming out of the converter to these 2 batteries. There are a few things inside the fifth wheel that are always powered on, and they're always going to draw current from the batteries and or the converter. And those things typically in this fifth wheel, as it's configured, it's completely OEM. There's no extra goodies installed, no super sound systems, and none of that kind of stuff. The LP detector slash CO detector that I have is hardwired, and you cannot turn it off. If you turn the battery cutoff switch off, you're not accomplishing anything except you're not charging your batteries. So, you know, in 9 years, I've used that battery disconnect switch 2 or 3 times, and that was strictly when I was removing and replacing the batteries. And what we're going to do now is, this is just an inexpensive multifunction multimeter with a clamp-on amp meter function, which is nice. I usually use my nice yellow Fluke out here, but you don't need a $500 meter. This one's about 39 bucks. And it's very, very close to the accuracy of my Fluke meter. So if you don't have a multimeter and you own a fifth wheel, or any RV for that matter, quite frankly, you're doing yourself a great injustice. You need to buy a meter if you don't know how to use one. There's at least 1,000 YouTube videos out there that will educate you and teach you how to use a meter. And you can maintain and fix and repair and troubleshoot quite a few things on your Alpine if you'll take the time to educate yourself. And what I have is the amp meters clamped on directly to the frame ground coming off the batteries. And I want to see what kind of an amperage draw that we have currently right now. And we're showing 7/10 of an amp. And that is with absolutely nothing inside turned on. And so that's about normal. And that would give you an idea of, we'll call it 1 amp of draw as configured sitting here at the house with nothing turned on inside. And so that kind of gives you an idea of why, if you store your Alpine and you don't plug it into shore power, or you don't have a decent solar array that's capable of maintaining those batteries, this should explain why your batteries will go dead in about 2 weeks. So I keep my Alpine plugged in year-round, and I've never had any issue. Some people say you're shortening the life of the converter. Well, I got 9 years out of mine so far, and I don't have any intentions of replacing it until it dies. When it dies, then we'll get another one. And as a backup, I always carry a battery charger with me, and that battery charger will save your butt. If you're out somewhere RVing and the converter dies, now you have no way to charge and maintain your batteries, and you have no way to supply the 12 volts DC that's needed to run just about everything inside that Alpine.